Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from this month's sponsor, Ethico.
If you're a compliance officer, middle managers are crucial in getting your programs from you to your frontline employees. But how do we activate those managers and get them on our side? Ethico's new Middle Manager Toolkit equips you with the skills needed to empower your managers, to promote a culture where ethical behavior thrives and employees feel empowered to speak up. Learn how to turn frontline managers into ethical leaders with our new white paper, Empowering Middle Managers as Ethics Champions. And did I mention you can get the whole toolkit for free? Head to ethico.com to download the full toolkit today.
Also, if you are looking for something new and different for the upcoming Compliance Week celebration in November, check out The Compliance Kids. It's my 3-book children's series on compliance and compliance professionals for children. But they make great gifts and great training tools for your employees. You can check it out on Amazon.com. We've linked to it in the show notes. The Daily Compliance News for November 7, 2024, the Fat Leonard Sentenced edition. We begin with that story from the U.S. Naval Institute News that Fat Leonard has been sentenced to 15 years in prison for masterminding the Navy corruption case. He was made to forfeit $35 million and will pay $20 million in restitution to the U.S. Navy. Pretty good if you still got that kind of cash. He, of course, had fled prior to his former sentencing, and so the judge slapped another year on. He's been in custody for 8 years, so he's got another 8 to go. Next up from the Wall Street Journal, Risk and Compliance Journal, Mingy Sun reports that the SEC, Office of Inspector General, said in a report Monday that the SEC's rulemaking agenda has seen more frequent court challenges and the agency will face additional scrutiny after the Supreme Court's ruling on the Chevron defense. And it advises that rulemaking and policy endeavors, the agency needs to consistently seek to exercise the Commission's authority with a consistent with the laws Congress has passed. So get ready for more challenges to the SEC, certainly under the next administration. Next up from the United Nations, an explainer on how corruption facilitates organized crime. This is something I've seen really for the past 15 years, and corruption facilitates crime, which leads to terrorism. Well, the UN has seen that it actually facilitates organized crime. So no surprise there when government officials are corrupt. We saw that in Latin America, South and Central America, starting with the Medellin cartels in Colombia and with drug dealers and drug manufacturers going forward now. And our final story comes to us from Forbes, which takes a look at the recent enforcement action against TD Bank, both the U.S. company, for a $1.8 billion penalty. Yesterday, we talked about how Elizabeth Warren has criticized the Department of Justice and Department of Treasury for being so light on TD Bank. But this article focuses on the cost of not doing compliance, not putting compliance in. TD Bank made it very clear they're not going to spend any money on compliance. And now they have a $1.8 billion fine and penalty and an asset cap. As I mentioned at the start of this podcast, the sponsor for the entire Compliance Podcast Network is Ethico. Well, Ethico has a great new offering this month for you, a toolkit for middle managers. This is something that you, as the compliance professional, can use to move your compliance program forward by giving middle managers the skills necessary to answer a call for speak up or when someone comes in their office and raises a concern. I can't think of a tool that will be more valuable for you in the current era of enforcement. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.